Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about funerals. Funerals are really unique. They bring out the best in people and the worst, and that's whether they're alive or dead. The interesting thing is, somebody told me a long time ago that if you ever want to see a really good family fight, go to a funeral or a wedding. And you know what? There's some truth to that. People will call me up and they'll go, I'd like you to come to my father's funeral, but I have to tell you, my family's really weird. I have come to the conclusion after all these years, no family is normal. And what is normal? Nobody is at their best when they've just lost somebody. When you walk up to the casket, the spirit of who's ever in the casket is going to be standing at the foot of the casket. If you think about it, that's where the live family members are standing. So they can hear anything that's said. They can't read your mind, which is probably a good thing in some instances, but they can definitely hear anything that's being said. The white light is around them, and it will stay with them all the way to the cemetery. After the priest or the minister has the talk, the prayer, whatever they're going to do at the cemetery, most spirits will walk into that bright white light at that point. But nobody's pulling them, nobody's pushing them. You have free will when you're alive, you have it when you're dead. If you don't want to go to that light, you do not have to go. That light will stay with you for about 48 to 72 hours after the final memorial service. You know, that gives you enough time to go be sneaky, go through people's houses. No one's going to know you're there. But that light is going to start getting smaller and smaller. You've got to go into it before it disappears, or you now are an earthbound spirit. If somebody is cremated, there is still usually a memorial service. And when that service is over, that's when their 48 to 72 hours will start. Now, you can definitely talk to them at the funeral if you want to. Just go toward the end of the casket, but you've got to talk out loud. They cannot read your mind. Funerals can give me a lot of information for families. Sometimes it actually is, where's the key to the safety deposit box? Or anybody that is an adult seriously should have some kind of arrangements made so that your relatives know. It is heartbreaking when I get invited to a funeral and I have to go to the funeral home with the family because they have no clue what that person wanted. Buried, cremated, what do you want to wear? They don't know. You've got to tell them, or put it in writing so they know what it is that you want. The other thing is this: if you decide to stay around when you die and you let the white light go, all you have to do is go to a service at a funeral home, go to that person's white light and walk into it, and you'll be where you want to be. The white light is not an individual light, it's a universal light. So all you have to do is walk into it, and you will also, you won't be stuck anymore. So none of you that are listening to this should ever be stuck or earthbound. I'm going to touch on kids for a minute. It's really hard for kids to go to a funeral. Unfortunately, most parents will not take their children to a funeral when they're young. And then when a grandparent dies, or an aunt or an uncle dies, or a sibling dies, then they take the kid to the funeral home. And this is the first time that the child is actually seeing somebody in a casket. What you need to do is take your child to a funeral. We're obligated. There's a lot of times we have to go to a funeral to pay our last respects, maybe to a neighbor or to a sister, somebody that we're an acquaintance with but we don't really know that well, which means your child doesn't know that person really well. That would be a great funeral to take them to, because you could sort of explain what's going on. And above all, please do not tell the child that that person is sleeping. You ever want your kid to sleep at night? don't tell them the person in the casket is sleeping. You'd be surprised how much kids understand. I did this with my own children, and I've told a lot of people to do this too. It's amazing how it works. If somebody that they love has died, give them a paper and an envelope. Tell them to write grandma or grandpa or whoever it is a letter. You're not going to look at it. They're going to put it in the envelope. They're going to lick it and seal it. Then you're going to take the kid and go to the foot of the casket and stick the letter inside the casket so that they can read it, or at least they know that grandma or grandpa has a letter for them. And it's amazing because sometimes kids are really angry that somebody died and they get it off their chest. If the kid is too young to write a letter, give them a crayon and a coloring book and tell them to write or to color grandma or grandpa a picture. That can go in an envelope. That can definitely go inside the casket also. I have to be invited to a funeral by an immediate family member, not a neighbor across the street, not some nosy old friend. That's the only way that I come to funerals. And if I'm in town, I will definitely try to attend. Thank you also for everybody that's sending in suggestions on how I could do this YouTube better. I appreciate it because I'm still learning. Next time that we meet, I will be talking about children and ghosts. Children ghosts. It's pretty unique because a lot of times your child's imaginary playmate is not imaginary. Thank you so much for watching this.